In this video, I'm going to show you how to create month-over-month and year-over-year dynamic variance measures so you can provide important context in your Power BI cards and other visuals. Let's jump in. Now in my next level Power BI cards tutorial, which I have a link in the description to, the example variance measure I used was a dynamic month-over-month measure. So it's this one that we see right here. I'm going to break down this measure so it's easy to understand. And then I'm going to show you exactly how you can tweak it in order to change the period of time comparison. For example, if you wanted to instead see a rolling 12-month year-over-year percentage, like we see here. Let's first see this month-over-month percentage measure in action. The latest month in this data set happens to be June of 2023. So here, for example, we can see we had 34.2% less gross sales in June of 2023 versus the month prior. Now, if I were to filter to a different period of time, let's say fiscal year 2022, we can now see we're comparing June of 2022 versus May of 2022. And that's because June is the latest month within fiscal year 2022. So as you can see, this month-over-month percentage measure is dynamic in the sense that it'll adjust based on the filter context. Now, if we wanted to subtract 1 month from the latest month, maybe the latest month in your data set is always the current month, which isn't completed yet. Therefore, you only want to compare the latest completed month versus the month prior to that. We can do that very easily with just a few little tweaks. And we can easily tweak the measure instead to show us a rolling year-over-year percentage if we wanted to, like we see right here. So let's take a look at this measure and break down exactly how it's working. We can see in this card that we have 34.2 less gross sales in June of 2023 versus May of 2023. We're using this measure here to show the month-over-month percentage. This measure utilizes the end-of-month function to capture the periods of time to compare. And as mentioned, it can easily be tweaked. For example, here's the measure slightly tweaked to show a rolling year-over-year percentage. So again, it's a very flexible measure as opposed to your typical time intelligence measures. Now we're going to break down this measure in 5 steps to see exactly how it works. Our first step here is to find the latest reporting period visible within the report. We can see here our latest reporting period is June of 2023. We don't have any filters applied. So therefore, we see June of 2023 as the latest reporting period within the date table of the report. And in this report, the reporting period is referencing the month year. Now, the latest reporting period could change based on the filter context. Here we can see we filtered the report to April of 2023. So therefore, that now becomes the latest reporting period visible in the report right now. Now that we've captured the latest visible month, we now want to grab one of the days that exist within that latest visible month. So here we can see we're using the calculate function to bring in the earliest date of our latest visible month. Now the calculate function itself would require a whole other video. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you want me to create a video on the calculate function as well. Okay, so in this example, our latest visible period happens to be June of 2023. So step 2 simply captures the first day of the month, which in this case is June of 2023. Now this variable right here, current month start, will serve as our base latest visible date. We'll be able to use this in the remaining steps in order to capture the periods of time that we want to compare. So to summarize, all we're doing right now is capturing the first day of the latest visible period within our report. Next, we have step 3. The key to understanding step 3 and step 4 is understanding the end of month function. EOMONTH stands for end of month. It's going to return the last day of the month of the date you're referencing in the function. The second part of the function allows you to add or subtract months. And then lastly, after the function has been completed, you can subtract or add dates to it. So for example, here we can see we entered June 1st of 2023 as the date we want to capture the last day of the month for. The end of month function will take that date and convert it to the end of the month date. So in this example, the end of the month is June 30th, 2023. Now, if we had June 3rd or June 21st or any other date, it's going to do the same exact thing. It's just going to capture the last day of the month for that date that you put in there. Now, the second part of the function allows us to add or subtract months. Here we have a 0. So we're choosing to stick with the end of month that we have here related to the start date. We're not making any changes to it. If we did decide to add a month, we can see now that we have the date of July 30th because we added a +1 within the second argument of the end of month function. And if we wanted to subtract a month, we can simply type -1, which we can see here gives us May 30th, 2023. Now, what if we wanted the start date of the month instead of the end date? Well, we can easily do that by simply adding a +1 outside of the end of month function. This will add 1 day to the date. So we can see here that we added 1 day to June 30th to give us the date of July 1st, 2023. And in this last example, we can see how easy it is to adjust the first day of the month that we want to bring in by simply adding or subtracting months from our original base date. So now that you understand the end of month function, let's take a look at step 3 of our measure right here. Calculating the sum of gross sales between May 1st, 2023 and May 30th, 2023. Our current month start variable from step 2 is showing June 1st. So here we're converting June 1st to the end of month, which would be June 30th. We then subtract 2 months, which will give us April 30th. And then we're going to add a day, which will give us May 1st, 2023. Now let's look at the secondary end of month function right below. We can see that this one subtracts 1 month from June's end of month date. So therefore, we can see here, we get May 30th, 2023 as our secondary date. So to summarize, step 3 right here is capturing the gross sales between May 1st, 2023 and May 30th, 2023. And this would be our previous month's sales. Just one note, notice how we're removing the filter context prior to capturing our period of time. So we're using remove filters here within Calculate to ensure the calculation accesses the full date range in the dataset, meaning it's going to override any external filters so it can compare the specified periods in this measure accurately. Okay, so step 3 was our previous month's sales. Now we need to capture the current month's sales to compare it to the previous month. Here we can see we're capturing the gross sales between June 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2023. The measure within the variable is the exact same as the previous one from step 3. The only difference here is we're reducing the start and end date period by 1 month. And our last step here is to perform the actual month-over-month percentage calculation. We can see here that the month-over-month percentage in this example is negative 34.2%, which means our sales in June of 2023 were 34.2% less than our sales in May of 2023. Now, to get that month-over-month percentage, we first had to subtract the previous month's sales from the current month's sales. We then took that number and divided it by the previous month's sales. When we did that, we got negative 34.2%. Now, you can easily adjust this measure to compare different periods of time. Maybe you want a rolling year-over-year percentage, where you're comparing the last 12 months visible versus the previous 12 months from there. In this example here, we're able to subtract 24 months from 6/30/2023 and then add 1 day to get July 1st of 2021. The second end of month function subtracts 12 months from June 30th, 2023 to get June 30th of 2022. So we now have our previous 12-month sales. Now we need our current 12-month sales. So here we're going to subtract 12 months from June 30th and then add a day to it to give us July 1st of 2022. And then lastly, we simply grab the end date of our latest visible month. It happens to be June 30th of 2023. So we now have our rolling 12-month year-over-year time periods that we can compare gross sales results between. And you can also add these periods of times as labels in your visuals so your users know exactly what that month-over-month percentage or year-over-year percentage is comparing. For example, if we wanted to show a label like this, where it shows the 12-month date range for the previous and latest, we could first grab those max dates within both the previous 12 months and latest 12 months. After that, we would just need to grab the min dates of those same periods of time. Once we have those 4 dates, we can string them all together into a nice looking context label that looks like this. And here's what that context label measure looks like. It's a lot scarier looking than it actually is though, as you just saw. And here's our month-over-month percentage context label that I created. We have the same situation here though, where we simply string together the text and the values from the measure to generate our context label. Now I'll have a downloadable text file with these DAX measures in it, just in case you'd like to take a look at them and try to convert them to work in your specific data sets. Now, if you wanted to practice and use the actual report, data set, and measures that I'm showing, feel free to check out my course, 14 Days to Mastering Power BI UX/UI Design. A link to it is also in the description. Now, if you found these tips helpful, feel free to subscribe, click the notification button. That way you'll be notified when I come out with additional quick tip videos related to Power BI UX/UI design. If you have any requests for certain quick tip videos, feel free to leave them in the comments. And then lastly, if you're looking for a course on advanced Power BI UX/UI design, feel free to check out the description where I have a link to my new course, 14 Days to Mastering Power BI UX/UI Design.